What is up, everybody? I'm back again. Um, here to kind of give my thoughts. I thought, while everybody is out streaming, I was like, you know what, man, I might as well get into the streaming game too. So, that's what I'm here to do today. Just I want to go every Tuesday. I feel like that's a consistent theme for me to just get my thoughts across, get my consistency going because you got to build up a following, some type of way. And so I figure, why not every Tuesday be content day, so to speak. And I just feel like there's a lot of things that I want to say. I just don't want to put the work and the effort into, you know, creating a whole like creating a whole like I'll say production around what I want to say. I just want to show up and talk. I'm not at that place where I can do that, but you know, I want to at least start. You know what I mean? At least start and get my feet wet and get myself off the ground in my situation. I'm off the ground, but I'm not gonna sit here and bore you guys. Again, I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna talk a little New Jersey high school football and just whatever random thoughts that I have, that I want to kind of get across to everybody. And as I was sitting and thinking today, one of the things that I'm not liking is, as somebody who consumes a lot of New Jersey high school football content, the amount of good games that are streamed is just few and far between. One of my go-tos was NJ.com, but they just stream. See, their whole thing is they want to make sure that every team in New Jersey gets time and airtime from them. And I totally get that. However, as consumers, we want to see good games. Like, we don't want to see a game where they have to have a running clock before halftime or at halftime. Like, we want to see games where, there's competition. Like, for example, like the next game they have streamed is Mount Olive at Morristown. Like, I know both teams have some talent, but again, there is huge North Jersey Super Conference football with a matchup between DePaul and who's DePaul playing? DePaul and Bosco. Like, that's the game we want to see stream. We don't want to see Mount Olive Morristown. No disrespect to them at all, and that's why I was even hesitant to say something. But I feel like somebody got to stand up and say, "Yo, give us good games, bro." Like, we don't want to see like the people who support that. Obviously they want to see it, but like the masses, we want to see good games. And see, with the changing of high school football, with it becoming, more like traditional college, and it's going to become more like traditional college, like people are going to start seeing how valuable this streaming is. And so I'm just saying, can we please get some better matchups on NJ.com? Like, I would greatly appreciate, like, before I feel like before I said something to the powers that be, like I told somebody at NJ.com, like, yo, I use your streams all the time to like go back and rewatch games and things like that. And then I feel like after I said that, I opened my big fat mouth. The quality of the games just started going down. The quality of the streams just started going down. I'm just like, I shouldn't have opened my mouth at all. I should have just shut the hell up. That's exactly what I should have did. But you know, beggars can't be choosers. So I mean, I'm gonna use the different various outlets that I've had. Like, I use YouTube too. Shout out to Dan Wilkins Broadcasting. I love his broadcasting. I love listening to him. I love his passion. I love how hard he goes for the South Jersey football. I love the time and the preparation that he puts into, knowing all of the players and being able to, recite different things about, the different schools. Because when I watch his broadcast, I feel like not only am I getting a good broadcast, I'm also learning something, right? Obviously, I'm not from New Jersey. I'm from Rochester, New York. But I moved to New Jersey from Rochester, New York, and I was in New Jersey for 3 years. Obviously, I don't know everything about North and South Jersey football, but I feel like in terms of South Jersey, I feel like I'm learning a lot, and I'm learning, enough to where I can go and recite it, and I'd be like, oh well, I left this stream, learning something new. So that's one person that I can say. Dan Wilkins Broadcasting, I really love them, and I hope they get more games, and I hope they go and do some more of these super conference game. I know SFC, because that's where I watched the Bergen and Bosco game last week. I know they got a lot of the super conference games, man. But and then honestly, on SFC, the commentating wasn't bad on that either. The commentating wasn't bad on the St. Peter's Prep and the and Joe's game. Like, I like the commentating. I don't know the guys' names, but I know they had a good broadcast, and I was tuned in and engaged. So I appreciate that. So I see I got 26 viewers, man. I appreciate everybody that's sitting here watching right now. Again, I'm just trying to get on here and stream more and talk about New Jersey high school football, just because, I feel like there's like an explosion that's going to happen in high school football, and I love Jersey football, but I just don't feel like I have an outlet, like other than my articles. I don't have an outlet to talk about what I want to talk about from a schematic perspective, what I've seen in some of the games. Like, I do breakdowns. Those just take a lot of time, but I would rather sit and talk about like what I've noticed, from each team, what we learned from each team. I'll be having a what we learned about Bosco coming up too. So for everyone watching, man, if you want to interact, I would love to interact with everybody, man. Just throw something in the comments whenever you want, say something. It'll be cool. You can say whatever you want. I'm here for all the open dialogue. Like, I don't shy away from anything. Again, it's just a stream where I'm talking about Jersey high school football. So, we'll I just want to, hear what you guys have to say. And maybe there's some people in here who follow Jersey high school football that can add to the conversation. So I would love that. So yeah, anytime you guys have comments, man, put them in and I'll do my best to answer them while I'm talking. So the whole reason I'm here today is because there were some really good matchups yesterday. Not yesterday, but there was some really good matchups in New Jersey high school football last week. We had Bosco versus Bergen, and then we had St. Joe's versus St. Peter's Prep. And two heavyweight matchups in the Super Conference. Pretty much the top four teams in New Jersey. All of them kind of going head to head, and we saw the battle for the number one position, and then we saw the battle for the number two position. And so I'll start with Bergen, and I'll start with Bergen in Bosco. First of all, shout out to Don Bosco, man. That's a school that I've loved since I've started covering New Jersey high school football. They always show me love. Coach Markel Harrison specifically, and then Coach Tank Daniels too. They actually did all of the prep red zone camps, right? So that's where I really kind of got cool with them and kind of know who they are. And so, man, I just want to shout them out because like I said, they've always showed me love and always, was just nice and cordial to me. Obviously, I haven't always had those interactions anywhere I go in New Jersey, but I would definitely say Don Bosco is a school that has always shown me love. And shout out to Coach Sabella too. I don't know him, but he's a heck of a coach. From what I've seen and what I've heard from everybody, Keep It a Buck podcast, talks about him. So shout out to that whole coaching staff over there at Don Bosco, and then shout out to Bergen Catholic, man. I mean, anybody who's ever followed me on Twitter, everybody knows like how me and the Bergen faithful go back and forth, but it's nothing but love, but on my side, when it comes to Bergen. And I want to see them do good. And listen, they're our powerhouse in the entire country, and I have nothing but respect for them. And I have nothing but respect for Coach Campanelli. Shout out to Coach Don for just being cool. Just everybody at Bergen Catholic. You know what I'm saying? Like, all y'all. Shout out to y'all, man. But in this matchup, I was really interested to see, a couple things. So first thing I was interested to see is both teams, had two young quarterbacks, and I love young quarterbacks. Just seeing where they start to where they are now. Trey Tagliaferri and also Carson Shane, man. Just both quarterbacks, maturing and going through their journeys, and that's something that I love just about football. Period. Even when in college and in NFL, when I watch NFL, like I love seeing young quarterbacks, go through their journey and see how they progress from, where they started and then to where they end up. And so in this game, I was able to see, Trey and Carson kind of work into a hostile environment. I talked to Carson Shane just a little bit over the weekend, and I asked him, I said, which atmosphere was, more rowdy, the Bergen or the one when they played in Texas, the team they played in Texas, and he said for sure the Bergen one, and I would have agreed with him, just because, just being in this atmosphere for 3 years, 3 to 4 years now, they take their rivalries very seriously here. And that's one of the things that I love about New Jersey, just the passion on in both sides, in South Jersey and North Jersey. And so in this North Jersey matchup with Bosco and Bergen, I feel like we saw the quarterbacks really play at a high level. I feel like Trey, in this game, I feel like when we saw Trey, one of the things I had said that I wanted to see Winslow do was speed him up. Right, I said that if they blitzed him and speed him up, I said I feel like he could make some mistakes and he could make some bad throws, because up until that point to Winslow, even from was it East St. Louis, and then they had another game, but I just didn't feel like any game that they had played he had been sped up. Like nobody pressured him, and that's a testament to Bergen's line, right? That's a testament to what they have with pretty much an all senior offensive line, and just having a stout unit. Like you can make a case that they're arguably the best offensive line, in the state of New Jersey right now, even after this Bosco loss. But their line for sure is tough, man. Like I said in one of my other videos, they can run block and pass block, right? And so coming into this game, I knew Bosco had a really good defense, but I think what separates Bosco's defense from anybody else's defense, besides the fact that they have talent at every level, they're also very disciplined. And I saw it in this game. And one of the places that I feel like Winslow, because I feel like that's the best team they've played so far, Winslow. Bergen, the best team or maybe the team in Florida, Boca Raton. But anyway, I feel like every team that they've played haven't been able to stop them on a run, stop them from running. Right? If you look at their running game, Bergen's with Dante Kane and with Najee Calhoun, they're ripping off 5, 6, 7 yard runs. And I feel like it's every game. I rarely see either one of those backs get hit in the backfield, which is a good thing, which is a great thing. I'm just saying it was nice to see a defense finally be able to challenge them in the run game in terms of their discipline and their gap soundness. And that is exactly what I saw in this game from the Bosco defense. Like they were really sound with their gap integrity, and they rarely got out of their gaps. And I saw the consistency. Like I didn't see a lot of big runs that were ripped off by Bergen. Now I'm going off of all of this, off the top of my head, right? Usually what I do is I try to rewatch the games. But again, as I alluded to in my earlier rant, the streams have not been the best, because I know in the stream for Bosco Bergen, it went out in the fourth quarter. Right now, even though it didn't change, just the fact that it went out, these are the types of things, and these are the type of work that I do. I don't like getting on live stream. I don't even like getting on a pre-recorded YouTube video and talking about the games unless I have everything together, unless I can talk about points astutely, right? I feel like I get more work done watching the streams than I do at the actual games, because at the actual games, it's more about the atmosphere, right? Obviously, I see stuff and I see top players, but when you can go, stop, sit with it, rewind it, fast forward it, right? See all of the good players, see where all of the stuff that happens in the trenches that you don't necessarily get right live at the game, but you can actually see on the stream. Like that's the type of thing, that's the type of way I like to talk about football. I can't talk about anybody else, but that's the way I've been brought and bred up. I went to school for scouting, right? I went to the scouting school, the Scouting Academy by Dan Hatman, and I've been bred to look at football that way, in a very analytical way. And I just feel like I can bring that to New Jersey high school football, but I had to do, the best that I could. So going back though, I don't want to get off on attention, but going back, one of the things that I did see that really disrupted Bosco's rhythm is, as I alluded to in my previous point, I said I wanted to see them speed Bergen up, speed Trey Tagliaferri up. And if you looked, they had Makai Allen blitzing damn near every play, and especially on passing downs. And I just want to say shout out to him, because that young man is a stud. He is an absolute stud, and he will be a solid linebacker prospect in the collegiate levels. Why? Because not only can he blitz effectively, not only can he read, but the differences in linebackers, they always come with the linebackers that can cover, that can run down the field with these wide receivers and add another player that can be in pass coverage and be impactful. He has the size, he has the length, he has the eyes, he has everything you want, the athleticism. He has everything you want out of a top-notch linebacker prospect. And just to see him, one play be lined up in the box, another play be lined up at the end, blitzing, another play, he was even lined up in the slot covering. I saw him running down the field as an overhang player. So that was one of the keys, and that was one of the advantages that I feel like Bosco had with having a player like that, because he was so disruptive the entire game, right? He was so impactful with whatever spot that he was in. And as a result of that, like I said, it was just a sight to see their defense be so sound. And you saw that with them winning the game, obviously, with them doing that. But I felt like, Bosco's defense did enough, and I felt like they really came to play. I definitely feel like that crowd, helped them out. Again, talking about that atmosphere, it was definitely, one for the ages, and it was a solid game, man. Shout out to I also want to talk about Bosco's offense, right? Shout out to Kysir Thomas. I believe that's how you say his name, or Kasai Thomas. I think it's Kasai Thomas, who scored, a rushing touchdown for them. And then I believe the other young man is Dante DeLuca. I believe that's his name, who scored 2 rushing touchdowns. And see, that was another thing. Like, Bosco has the line to move the Bergen defensive line. Like, they have a line that who can compete. Oh my gosh, who can compete. And so you saw that they were able to consistently create passing lanes. They were able to consistently get sexy with their play calls, right? And, just everything that they did on offense, they didn't, veer away from too much from what they normally do, but they did enough where they got 2 touchdowns and they played solid defense, and they were able to speed Trey Tagliaferri up, and they were able to, have him make some bad throws like that one. There's another thing too that I want to say that I noticed that is really bothering me. I don't understand why when people play Bergen, they don't take away Austin Busso. Like, he is a really good receiver. Let's not get that misconstrued. He's a really good receiver. He can win from the slot, and he's a shifty route runner, and he can create a lot of separation. But if you look at the games, he is almost exclusively Trey Tagliaferri's first read on most plays. I'm not saying that's where he always goes. I'm saying most times when he's dropping back and his back foot hits, he's usually looking in the direction of Austin Busso. Now, I don't understand, even though Bosco got the win, I don't understand why teams don't double him within what they do in the scheme. Like, you can play cover 2 and still have him double. You can play cover 4 and still have him double. I know a lot of colleges, a lot of high schools, they play a lot of, one deep safety and a lot of cover 3. But I feel like he should be the one that they double every play. I like Brian Porter and I like Willis, but I want those 2 to beat me. I want you to go away from what you normally do, which is throw the ball to Busso when you get in trouble, right? I want you to go away from that and find somebody else. Now, again, Brian Porter has shown that he can also make plays individually, and he doesn't need anything schemed up, and he can win one-on-one. But all I'm saying is, if we know the ball is going to, because I'm pretty sure that Busso has the most targets by far and away of anybody else in that receiving core. So I don't understand why they don't double him. Obviously Bosco didn't need to do it, but I just don't understand. Like, going forward, that's what should be the game plan. Obviously, you have to stop their run, right? That's priority number 1. And so priority number 2 has to be to make sure Austin Busso doesn't go for 100 yards in this game, in these games, right? And I just feel like he's always left one-on-one, and he's always getting open because he's a hell of a route runner. And I'm sitting here saying, like, why is it not 2 people on him? Why is it not somebody who is like underneath him and high-lowing him, banjoing him, something? You know what I'm saying? Doing something that can just take this young man away. Again, I'm not saying that that's where Trey only goes. I'm just saying if you watch the games, and I've watched all of Bergen's games, he is like exclusively the player that they always go to in crunch situations. And so taking him away, I feel like would be more advantageous for the defense. But Bosco did enough because they were able to also thwart their run. And if you can thwart their run game, clearly you have a shot to beat them. So on the other side, for Bosco's offense, I want to make sure I give a special shout out to my man Carson Shane. Like I told you, I spoke to him a little bit over the weekend. And again, I just love to hear, players and their journeys into how they got to where they are. Obviously, Carson is a freshman, right? He hasn't had many of these high pressure games, but I'm sitting there asking like, hey, like, what was the atmosphere like? How was it in terms of getting off the play calls and making sure that everything was smooth? And he was like, it's fine, it's good. It was his exact words was it was easy. And so to hear that, I mean, that's exactly the way he played, though. That it was easy. The moment was not too big for him. And I like what the coaching staff is doing is like you don't see him throwing the ball, 30 to in high school they don't really throw that much, but like 25 to 30 times a game, right? You see him running an offense, making key throws, making just easy throws, a lot of schemed up stuff, which is what you want. And he's running, and like I said, he's running the offense effectively, and you saw that. And like I said, he did not get rattled, and I saw that all game. And then them being able to run, them being able to be creative and sexy, with their passing game and with their schemes. I feel like they really got Bergen off kilter, and I feel like that's ultimately what had them win. Besides their stellar play on defense and putting in, I don't want to say rushing Trey, but making him speed up on third downs and stuff like that, on key passing downs. I feel like they also controlled the clock and the tempo, and the moment wasn't too big for Carson Shane. So shout out to Don Bosco for getting that win in a tough, raucous environment. And I saw it on the stream that it was very live. So man, shout out to them. Shout out to Carson Shane for handling that moment like a true top-notch quarterback. I mean, he's probably going to be a 4 or 5 star prospect in a minute. So man, shout out to them. That was one of the solid games that I saw throughout this last weekend, and that $12 I paid to watch that game, I felt like my $12 was well spent. So now we're gonna move to the St. Peter's Prep St. Joe's game, and in that game, I really felt like I saw a lot of talent that I don't usually talk about, but I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm gonna say that St. Peter's Prep may have the deepest. St. Peter's Prep may have the deepest amount of playmakers in the state of New Jersey, even more than Bergen. And I think that was on display in this game. They have a 2-headed running monster in Abdul Toure, who rushed for over 2,000 yards last season. You got Kyrie Barksdale, who's a solid runner. He actually scored a touchdown in this game. And then you go to their wide receivers. You go with my man Amari Jones, who unfortunately got hurt in this game, but he's going to be the best young receiver in the state of New Jersey. His time is coming. And he's been showing that, right? He can win one-on-one. Right? I love Amari Jones, and I love his game. I love Hunter Watson. Hunter Watson is currently Prep Red Zone's #1 rated receiver, and I feel like in this game he showed that. Then you got Tyree Clark. Then you got Chris Horn Jr. You got all of these guys who can make plays. And again, like I said, and in this game, I feel like all of them had their small opportunity to show what they can do against top-notch competition. And on the Joe side, I didn't know going into this game, but Nate Bailey was hurt. Not only was Nate Bailey hurt, but Lamar Best was hurt too. So starting quarterback was Mason Geis. Geese or Geis? I'm sorry. I think it's Geis. Forgive me. Somebody correct me in the comments if y'all can. If it's Geis or Geese, I don't know. But we had him, and I feel like he played a solid game overall. He did make some mistakes. What did he do? He went 12 for 14, 185 yards with one interception, right? But that one interception, I don't feel like, yes, it was a key point in this game because it was close all the way throughout. But I feel like for the most part, he did his thing. And that's another team, too, who has, excuse me, a lot of solid playmakers between Keyshawn Bryant, between Stalin Noden, between Brady Schuss, like all of these guys, was came out to play too. And this was a back and forth game. And ultimately it came down to a couple plays. So, but what I want to start with though is I want to start this game by talking about Tyler Bell. Tyler Bell did an interview a while back, talking about like why he didn't leave St. Peter's Prep and why he, wanted to stay amidst them losing when he had opportunities to go other places. And I feel like in this game, like he really showed me something. Now, I already knew he was a good quarterback. I love Tyler Bell. I love his game. I love quarterbacks that can push it down the field, and he can push it down the field. He can be accurate in the intermediate areas. I think that Tyler can really make every throw. I'm not sitting here saying that he has like a big fat Josh Allen cannon arm, but all of the throws that you will want him to make in all of the areas of the field, he can access, in my opinion. I think the only thing that I ever had to say about Tyler in terms of something that he can work on, I remember I did like a deep dive on him. It was a game against Joe's, ironically enough. And I just said that I would love to see Tyler show more leadership when things are not going right? As the quarterback, you have to be the leader of the team, and the people your teammates, they follow you. So if your body language is bad when it's bad, then your teammates are going to follow. And I feel like he did a lot of that last year. They were losing, but I feel like he did a lot of that last year. And I just wanted to see him grow from that until what he is now. And what he is now is you can make a case, arguably, that he's been the best quarterback in New Jersey thus far. With Trey Tagliaferri, with Derek Zammit, I don't think I can name a better quarterback in terms of statistically, eye test, and an actual the winning of games. I don't think there's a better quarterback, in New Jersey playing football right now in New Jersey. And I think he showed that this game. Just his grit, his ability again to access every part of the field. One of the play that I really stood out to me was that rushing touchdown that he had on the goal line. When they called a sneak, didn't get it. Tried to call a run, didn't get it, but then he came back and then he snuck it in for a 1-yard touchdown. That was a great play. But what I felt like really stood out about his game was one of those last drives. With one of those last drive, and shout out to Hunter Watson too, because he showed me something too. Right, I had never actually got to watch a full game. Like I like to watch full games of these kids. I don't like to watch highlight tapes. I like to see what are you like in the biggest moments. What are you like when it's down? I want to see all of that. And I saw in this game, I feel like up until the last drive, I feel like Hunter Watson only really had like one catch. And so after that one catch that he had, right, then it comes the last drive. And in the last drive, I feel like Tyler was making some solid throws. And I feel like Hunter was on the receiving end of all of them. And as a result, we saw how he can dominate and how Hunter Watson can control the game as St. Peter's Prep's number one wide receiver. Like I said, Amari Jones got hurt in this game. But after watching both of their games, in terms of Amari Jones and Hunter Watson, and seeing how, they both affect the game and affect St. Peter's Prep's offense, I have confidence in saying that I think Hunter Watson is, their best receiver. And he showed that on that last drive. He caught 3 big catches. He caught one through the middle, one through traffic, and then obviously he had to fade up the sideline where on a beautiful ball from Tyler Bell that ultimately put them up and gave them, that ultimately tied up the game. Excuse me, not go ahead. They tied it up, right? And so that was on St. Peter's Prep side. I love to see St. Peter's Prep's offense just, shoot on all cylinders like that. Shout out to Coach O'Flaherty, Ryan O'Flaherty. He's been a great offensive coordinator for a while now, and I don't feel like he gets enough respect for how good that he's been. I know they had it, like I said, I know they had a down year last year, but I feel like he's one of the top offensive coordinators, and I love the tempo. I've always loved the style of offense that he runs. Quick pace, high octane, spread to run, and he has his quarterbacks always executing that system to perfection. So that's just a testament to the coaching. So I just want to shout out, Coach O'Flaherty and the whole St. Peter's Prep staff. I'm gonna get to them, but I want to talk about St. Joe's too. When you have injuries like St. Joe's had, and you consistently have injuries, I think it's always a testament to great coaching when you see them still play at the same level. Obviously, both teams came in undefeated, right? But I feel like Joe's definitely came to play. Specifically, Keyshawn Bryant, man. I didn't know that he transferred from DePaul Catholic to St. Joe's. I was like, Keyshawn Bryant. I said, I know that name. I said, I thought he played for DePaul Catholic, but obviously he was playing for Joe's and he showed out. I mean, he had, I believe it was 3 rushing touchdowns and then had a punt return for a touchdown. Like, he also had a coming out party in this game and really put himself on the map. I mean, I'm pretty sure that obviously there's people that know about him, but when you think of Joe's, like, Nate Bailey is the guy. That's the guy when you think of St. Joe's, right? But you can see with Bryant and with Noden that they're in good hands. And Noden too. I mean, he has some good plays where he caught it out of the backfield and has some runs, and he made his presence felt too. And so I felt like Joe's, really fought hard. Their defense is really good, man. They got some young studs in their leader, AJ Ravella, man. I want to talk about him, man. He is a smart linebacker. I know he's going to Fordham, but I really feel like he's a P4 player for real. Like, his tape is P4. Like, even when I watched him last year, the amount of plays that he makes on a game-to-game basis, I just feel like goes overlooked. And you always hear his name on a broadcast, and it was no different in this game. He consistently made plays as a linebacker, plays at and around the line of scrimmage, and he just always makes his presence felt. And shout out to AJ Ravella, man. I hope he gets an opportunity to play at the P4 level. Listen, I'm not saying Fordham is a bad school. I just feel like for what I've seen from him in terms of the football instincts and then matching that with size, maybe he doesn't have the athleticism, but we've seen linebackers in the NFL, I'm talking about, who don't have the athleticism but can play smart enough where they play faster and they can, be solid linebackers, for their career. And I feel like an example of that is the Lions linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez. He was a 7th round pick by the Lions, but he wasn't the biggest guy, wasn't the fastest guy, but he's hella smart and he plays with reckless abandon and he can tackle really well. And I feel like that's the same thing I see on a high school level from AJ Ravella. Obviously, he's a high school kid. He's got a lot of developing to do, but I don't want to go without mentioning him, without talking about St. Joe's defense and without mentioning him. He is a solid player, and I hope he gets an opportunity to play at the P4 level. But, Fordham got themselves a really good linebacker. And then Taj Gray, man. Like, both of the Gray brothers are really good, but, I believe it's Taj. I believe it's Taj Gray. Please correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, but I believe it's Taj Gray is the one who is consistently making Tyler's life hell. And that's why that first half was so neck and neck, is because both defenses were going so hard. But I feel like Taj Gray, I believe it's Taj Gray, the one that plays outside linebacker, I feel like he is the one who really, can create pressure, can get up the field really quickly, has moves. I believe he forced a fumble in this game. Like, he really, did a job as a defensive player, and all of the hype and praise that he gets and all the offers that he has, I feel like in this game against top competition, he really backed that up. And, he definitely, I mean, he already put himself on notice. Again, I'll just be honest with y'all. it's a situation where if I don't watch you, I'm not vouching for you. Like if I don't watch your game, I don't vouch for you. I want to watch and do my own evaluation. That's one of the things I learned in scouting school. Do your own evaluation. You know, it's cool to get all the offers and stuff like that, but I want to see what you actually do on a football field with my eyes. I'm not sitting here saying I'm the ultimate end all be all when it comes to football evaluation. I'm just saying that I feel like I'm really good at it. And if I see you and I see you showing out and I see, how you affect the game, I want to be able to speak for it for myself. And I feel like with Taj Gray, I feel like he showed out and he really impressed me. So also, man, shout out to who else I need to shout out? Oh, I want to talk to Coach Hansen, Coach Rich Hansen, man. In this game they announced that, the father Hansen was retiring. And one of the things I like is when coaches got balls and big balls. Pause on anybody else, pause in the comments. But I love it when coaches take risk. And that's what Coach Hansen did. He took a massive risk and he said, I'm going to line up with my playmakers and I'm going to go after it and I'm going to go get it. And that's exactly what he did. Went for the 2-point to go get the game. And he caught a nice jet motion play that ultimately got them in the end zone. And I think that was a gutsy move at home, in front of his dad, in front of his father who was retiring. And the announcer was saying that he had his coming of age moment. I mean, I haven't watched enough of Coach Rich. And again, for anyone who's new and don't really know who I am, I've only been covering New Jersey high school football for 3 years, right? So I haven't been around for all the history, all of that. I haven't been around for that. From what I've seen, though, I think that definitely that moment showed me that what type of coach Coach Hansen is, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to get the win, man. He could have easily, just let it go into overtime, but he said, nah. He said, I'm going to go get this win, and I love it. And that was a gutsy move. So special shout out to Coach Rich Hansen. If you see this, shout out to you. Kudos to you, and I hope you keep making big plays like that. Another player we need to mention is Will Maloof, edge rusher, St. Peter's Prep, who ended the game. Now that is a very tall and slender kid, and I'm waiting to see him, fill into his frame. But he showed in this game that he can end him, and that's what he did. And pretty much had the biggest play of the game, where he beat the left tackle and got around the edge, kept with the play. He actually got past the first offensive tackle and then also got hit by the guard and still hustled and made the play and got a fumble. And iced the game for his team, man. And I believe that was St. Peter's second fumble because Jordan Rodriguez also got a fumble in this game where he punched it out. I believe it was from Brady Schuss. He made Brady Schuss fumble. And so St. Peter's Prep's defense too came to play. Like it was a great game on both sides, and both offenses and defenses really came to play. And it was great to see, man. And I always say, man, that's what I've come to love about New Jersey high school football, right? The rivalries, especially in the Super Conference, and the tough games, the atmosphere, how seriously people take it. In that game, again, St. Peter's versus St. Joe's, like that was another, example of that. And then there's no rest for the weary for St. Peter's Prep. No, for not St. Peter's Prep, but I'm alluding to the Paul and Bosco matchup next week. That's gonna be huge. Again, I'm gonna do my best to watch that game because I want to talk about it because I want to see Derek Zammit play. Keep It a Buck podcast. I watch them a lot. Shout out to my man, Keep It a Buck, Lenny. And my man, I believe that's Justin Wembley from Zone 6. I believe that's who that other guy is. There's no disrespect. I just don't know. You know what I'm saying? I know who you are, but I don't at the same time. I don't want to make sure I don't get your name wrong because you're on Keep It a Buck podcast and you add a lot of value to it too now that Coach Nas is, coaching. But I always watch them to kind of just make sure like I'm on my P's and Q's in terms of some of my takes. I don't listen to them for takes. I'm just sitting here saying, they usually are on point with most of especially the North Jersey football. They're usually on point with all that. I know they're like trying to venture out and get into more South Jersey football and covering more matchups. But I just want to give a special shout out to Keep It a Buck podcast because I love, watching those guys. I would love to go on there, and talk, man. Lenny been trying to get me to go on there for a minute, man. So I hope he extend me another invite so I can go on there and just go back and forth about, what I see, who I think some of the top players are. I don't really hold back. I try to be, or I am, as respectful as I can possibly be. But I have always believed that you don't do these kids any justice by sparing their feelings. I don't sit here and say any kid is trash. I don't do that. I just simply say what I see, and I simply say what the tape says, right? And this is what the tape says. And so that's why I like to go back and make sure I'm watching the film so I understand everything that's going on, right? Keep It a Buck usually has like a lot of the background stories on a lot of these kids and like where they started and, who they used to play with, all of that type of stuff. I don't have that type of context for what I've already mentioned, but to hear the context, right, and then put it in perspective, like I love to hear those, type of things. So I would love to definitely go on there and go back and forth with those guys about the game, especially in New Jersey. So yeah, man, Keep It a Buck. If y'all see me, man, invite me on so we can, have some candid conversations about New Jersey high school football, man. I love what y'all do, and I'm a key supporter, or not key. I'm a longtime supporter of the pod. So keep doing what y'all doing. So yeah, those are the two matchups that I saw in Jersey this weekend. Again, that really just, stuck out to me. St. Peter's, love them. St. Joe's, Bosco Bergen, just two really big heavyweight matchups, in Jersey. I was just really sick of seeing like all of the South Jersey football were just blowouts, right? I know Dan Wilkins Broadcasting, they get a lot of the South Jersey games of teams that aren't really covered that much. So like you watch a lot of blowouts. So I was like kind of sick of seeing the 62-0, 62-14, like scores like that, man, because I can't really stomach that, bro. I love to see good football on any level, high school, college, and NFL. Like I love to see a good game. I tell people all the time, like they ask me like, yo, do you have a team? I do have a team. The Los Angeles Rams is my team. I've been a fan since 99, but really I just love the game of football and I love to see a good game on any level. So that's the narrative I keep with everything, and I want to see good football. And so again, I know we want to give every team, their shine, and these kids work hard. I got all of that. We all work hard. Just be honest, we all work hard. You know what I mean? But I'm a competitor. At the end of the day, I'm highly competitive. And if you play sports or you play football, you're also competitive, right? And I personally believe that the best teams should be featured consistently. There's no more like the whole participation trophy thing is just, it's not for me. You know what I mean? I want to feature teams that actually win games and are that solid powerhouse teams, right? Obviously the community, the NJ.com, they have to service all of the communities, right? Because they want to make sure that they're inclusive. But again, I'm not that. I want to see winners play. I want to see good football games. So that's just my selfish thoughts. They're harmless. I believe they're harmless. So yeah, man, I appreciate y'all, man. I really appreciate y'all being here. I did not expect to get this many viewers. I'll be honest with you. I expect to have no viewers. But there's, been like a solid 30 to 40, viewers in here. And again, I want to get on here every Tuesday. I don't know. I'm gonna shoot for 6:00, but I will be streaming every Tuesday. I'm gonna look to stream every Tuesday. And I just want to leave y'all with a word, man. The word I want to leave y'all with today is just make sure you putting in the work. I have a heavy reliance on my faith in God. And I ask him for patience daily. And I ask him for the things that my heart desires. Right. But I can't ask God for these things. We can't ask God for these things if we're not putting in the work. The work has to match up with the ask that you are asking God for. God does not make miracles happen like he did back in the day, like he did back in Jesus' times, right? You have the burning bush, raising Jesus from the dead, right? Those types of miracles. He doesn't do those anymore, right? You have to put in the work and stay ready. So when God brings that blessing to you and brings that opportunity in front of you, you're prepared for it and you're prepared to take that bet on yourself and on God. So I just want to again thank everyone for watching this stream. Again, I'm gonna try to get on here. I'm gonna say every Tuesday at around 6 o'clock. I'm gonna shoot for that. Because I feel like Tuesdays are always the day I don't really have much going on. So just I would love if you guys come in and interact, ask me questions, ask me my thoughts on certain players. I would love to, connect with different fan bases in Jersey. And I just want to connect. I want to use this as my platform to, get out my thoughts and things that I'm thinking, things that I want to say. And those games this weekend is something that I really wanted to talk about because I wanted to give a shout out to like all of these coaches who really put in the work, man. And you see between Coach Sabella, between Coach Campanelli, between Coach Augie Hoffman and Coach Hanson, man, they're just four of the top coaches in Jersey. And you could just see the work that they put in and the discipline and the attention to detail and the relentless effort of their teams. You can just see that in the play. And that was indicative of this weekend. So I appreciate y'all, man. Again, drop me a follow on YouTube. I'll I can't drop my YouTube link, but yeah, follow me on YouTube. Just type in EJ Daniels and I should come up. And then follow me on Twitter at eDaniel77 and do that, man. And I appreciate y'all, watching the stream. I'm gonna end it, man. And again, let's shoot for next Tuesday at 6. I'll be back streaming on Twitter and on YouTube. Hopefully I can get my TikTok streaming up and add that as a destination. So until next time, guys, I'll see y'all next Tuesday at 6.